The United Nations is an international organization founded in 1945. It is currently made up of 193 member states. The United Nations is headquartered in New York City. The main organs of the UN are the General Assembly, the Security Council, the Economic and Social Council, the Trusteeship Council, the International Court of Justice, and the UN Secretariat. India was a founding member of the United Nations, joining it in October 1945, 2 years before independence from the British Raj. Independent India viewed its membership at the United Nations as an important guarantee for maintaining international peace and security. By 1946, it has started raising concerns regarding colonialism, disarmament, and racial discrimination. In 1953, the chief delegate of India at the time, Vijay Lakshmi Pandit, was elected the first woman president of UN General Assembly. Many Indians have put forward their voice in the UNGA. They are as follows. Late Pranab Mukherjee. On the occasion of the International Literacy Day in the year 2014, our late former President Pranab Mukherjee addressed the audience of UN. He reminded everyone about the significance of reading and writing. He defines literacy as reading the world rather than the word. He quoted the words said by our father of our nation, Mahatma Gandhi, that illiteracy is a sin and shame and must be eradicated. He also mentions about the gender disparity in illiteracy. Dr. Manmohan Singh. Dr. Manmohan Singh addressed the audience during the 68th session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York on 28 September 2013. In his speech, he addressed the issue of poverty. Problems of over 1 billion people living in abject poverty around the world need to be attacked more directly, Singh said in his speech. Singh has also brought up the issues of climate change through his speech. Towards the conclusion of his speech, Singh mentions significant issues on terrorism. He proposes that there is a need to renew our commitment, especially here of the UN, for concerted, cohesive and continuing global action against terrorism. Shri Narendra Modi. Prime Minister Narendra Modi virtually addressed the 75th Annual UN General Assembly in Hindi. In his statement to the landmark general debate, PM said that India is moving forward with a vision of self-reliant India that will also be a force multiplier for the global economy. He emphasized on India's vaccine production and mentioned that its delivery capacity will be used to help humanity in fighting COVID-19. Further, India will always speak in support of peace, security, and prosperity. India will not hesitate in raising its voice against enemies of humanity, including terrorism.
Late V.K. Krishna Menon. V.K. Krishna Menon is an Indian nationalist and a politician. He was a former Indian envoy to the United Nations till 1962 and later the Defence Minister of India. On 23rd and 24th of January 1957, Krishna Menon delivered a long speech for almost 8 hours in the international bodies, which remains an unbroken record. In his speech, he defended India's position on Kashmir in the United Nations Security Council (UNSC). Late P.V. Narasimha Rao. P.M. Narasimha Rao addressed the audience during the United Nations General Assembly in New York on January 31, 1992. In his speech, he mentioned about India's support to the United Nations and also about conserving natural resources by avoiding the thoughtless acts of overexploitation and environmental degradation. Towards the conclusion, he shared concerns expressed by several leaders on the threat posed to international peace and security by the proliferation of nuclear weapons. Late Indira Gandhi. Indira Gandhi, the first women Prime Minister of India on June 1972, met with representatives of 114 other countries in Sweden. It was the first time the world had come together to think about man-made climate change at the UN Conference on Human Environment. She gave a seminal speech on climate change and poverty alleviation. Its ultimate success was that environmental policy became a universal concern with international diplomacy, and the conference's motto of "Only One Earth" became iconic. India has played a key role in the UN reforms. It has been the driving force behind many reforms like the end of colonialism and apartheid. India has earned a name as a peace-loving nation working for the advancement of the world towards prosperity and equality of the human rights and for ultimate unity of the world under one world government. The COVID-19 pandemic is a global challenge. Addressing it requires global action, international solidarity, and unity of purpose. UN is striving hard to save the lives, protect societies, and recover better.